Hey, top of the morning to you. I'm going to run that again just for fun. Watch this. Haven't done this in a while. Boom. Here we go. Maybe it'll start, maybe it won't. No, maybe it's not going to. Hey, play again. There we go. Rearranging my desktop here so I can see people pop on. Sorry about that. Wait, where are we going? Nowhere. We're not going anywhere for a while. Top of the morning to you. I was clicking through some buttons there, trying to forgot to shut off my email, and so sometimes through the show it'll just pop up, and you won't see it, but I'll see it, and I'll go, "What was that all about?" And then I realize I'm the only one that made the mistake. I'm the only one in the studio. Welcome to. I'm Michael. Grandkids call me Rue. Welcome to my studio upstairs. Up a flight of stairs, a turn across a landing, and up another flight, and here I am in the belfry of a house, Charlotte, North Carolina. It's been chilly, but it's not snowing. Our friends in Knoxville are getting a little bit. Charlotte is like this, Knoxville, Charlotte. So we're down, there a little bit, right in the armpit. I think that's why they call it the Piedmont. Anyway, so we miss a lot of snow up on the 40 corridor that skates across through Knoxville, comes across the mountains through Asheville and up to Hickory, and we miss it. And so Carol and I were sitting there last night. Our son had FaceTimed us from Knoxville, showing us something that he and one of our grandsons was building, just phenomenal. And we said, hey, you can carry this out and put it over your head in the snow. And he turns the door around and walks out, and it's snowing. And we're going like, oh, and she sits there for a few minutes, and she goes, I'd like to see snow. And I go, well, you just saw it. She goes, you know what I mean. So, hey, good morning to you. Glad you are here. 40 in Florida this morning. Ooh, that's chilly. All right, let me say hello. Jethro hadn't looked at my email, so I just turned it off. So maybe you just sent me one and I didn't see it. So blessings to you, man. Thank you very much. Amy, good morning to you. Raylene Culberson, Pat Brooks, always great to have you guys on the show. Pat, especially, thank you. 45 and sunny in South Florida. See, there you are. Pat, I was telling somebody about the book just this week. Just talk about it. It's basically, I think I still have 7 or 8 here that I'm giving away a couple for a marketing thing. And just somebody said, hey, do you have a book? And we want to look at this. And when they say we, I talked to them for a while and they finally got one. But working on a couple of things. So the Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle is still out there, and it's a fun book. And you know what? I use it a lot, believe it or not, when I talk to people about art. It had some things that I said in the first 100 days that I painted that I felt like were my gained habits of what I've done to grow as an artist. Okay, so all of these things that we talk about, my growth and what I'm learning, and I'm not saying I'm a great artist. I'm saying I think like one. And that is so, so, so important. I had this conversation with a marketing company yesterday. Yesterday morning, we Zoom called. And they're asking me about this, and I'm showing them some sketches, and they're going like, oh, we love this. And I'm going like, who are you people? And she said something about we work with other artists. And I said, oh, fine if you work with other artists. I didn't say I was an artist. And she goes, what? I said, I think like one. And she said, oh my goodness, we love that here. And I said, well, if you're not thinking like an artist, what the heck are you doing with some brushes on your desk and paint in your bug out bag? You have to think outside the box. People will not do that. They will just go, oh, here it is. Look, it's this little painting on the desk. Let me find out where my desk is. Here it is right here. It's this little desk that says, in top of the morning to you. Look. It's just simple pen sketch, and I'm going like, a simple pen sketch? It took me 5 years to get to this. And so, and I had to think like an artist. I didn't wake up one day and say, I'm an artist. I woke up and thought, I'd like to think like an artist. Maybe it started with I'd like to be an artist, and I realized how hard that is. It's a practice. So that's what I'm getting at all the time. My desk, my area, my everything here, and I keep cleaning. That's I can see wood on my other desk over there today. So glad you're here. But it's all covered with little sketches like this. Here's one right here. There's a little lobster that I did yesterday while I was on the phone, and I love pens, and so I do get a lot of emails about what kind of pencils, what kind of pens do you use? Yes. What kind of pencils do you sketch with? And I'll go, most of the time I don't sketch with a pencil, but I do have a couple I have three laying on the desk today. I have a Ticonderoga HB2. I have a pencil from Yasutoma that's a 9mm, big old bold, let's mark it up if you want to, pencil. And then I also have the 555 layout pencil, which is a lot like, people think it's charcoal. It's not, it's just dark graphite. It's soft graphite, and it blends really well. I have these here because I am working on something that requires a pencil. And you're going to go, yeah, we want to know what that is. I'm going to tell you a little bit later this morning what that is. Glad you're with me this morning. I stopped at Pat talking about the book, Jennifer Yentz from Gray, Indiana. Stephen Dockery, good morning to you, man. The Bird Painter is on this morning. Karen Binder, thank you. Glad you're here. June Jones, Jethro Bodine made a purchase yesterday from the auction, and they were black and white, Jethro, which is really rare for a guy who keeps colorful birds in his life. So there you go. Laura Abbott, thank you for being on the show. There's the ink-inspired life sketching guru himself. Good morning, he says. Peeps, that would be Jason. When he's not teaching, he's holding a pen somewhere. And he's this guy, okay? Look, you know what this is, right? He's the guy that sketches like this. Yeah, he's a left-handed guy. If you haven't watched him sketch, just watch him sketch. I own one of his paintings. I own a couple of them, actually. But I bought one recently that's off to be framed. It's the bridge in St. Augustine, the Bridge of Lines, and it's pen and ink, and it's very beautiful. It's got a great wash on it, and I'm excited about that because that bridge means so much to me. So I've been encouraging him for the last 20 years. Feels like 20, right, Jason? It's just been a few months, but it's been underwater. I've been encouraging him to paint bridges because I think people in and around New York and New Jersey, they cross bridges all the time and they forget how cool they are. They're just remarkable. The engineering, the architecture, the design. So I almost like the lobster. Wow, to look at the engineering and the creation. And this pen here will surprise you. This is just a different little pen. I may talk about that. I'm going to pin it to this pen, and I might talk about that here in a minute. All right. Heather Kuhlman, thank you for being on the show. I see Heather's art and comments pile up every now and then. Denise Albright, always love to see you. Love the bird falling down on the cat's eyes. I saw it. I think I love it. Jean Anthalzer, Karen Marie Joby Goins, cool, she said. I don't know if that's the weather or something that she's looking at. Alice Durham from Boiling Springs, South Carolina. There's a Boiling Springs, North Carolina. There's a Boiling Springs, Tennessee. There's a Boiling Springs. Almost every state has a mid city, midtown, and a Boiling Springs. Not sure what all that means. Kelly Berger, hey, morning to you from Houston. Dorothy Beasley, Pam McCauley. Pam McCauley's on the show this morning. Good to see you, my friend. We had a celebration just this week of a new birthday adoption boy in our family, a birthday adoption for our family. So it's something when you get a new grandson. I love that, love that, love that. So you've got the sun. No, I don't have it here. It's still a gray day here. I painted all gray last week. Donacell Barton, love your stuff. Keep painting those gears, those Rube Goldbergs. Linda Schleitning, Karen Pikert, Beverly Schmidt. Golly, look at you guys pile on. Okay, let's get busy. Skeeter Pal. Rolling, rolling, rolling. All right, here we go. Evelyn Davis Morales, thank you for being on the show. Jennifer Thistle. Jennifer, you asked me about a painting, and I'm going to roll that video for you this morning here, and I think I'm going to paint that painting this morning, and I might just do it here in a minute with the pens and pencils that I have on the desk. Just sometimes I'll just reach over, and whatever I have, I'll grab it. Like now, I'm just reaching to grab a couple things. There's a few pens and pencils here. Sometimes I have watercolor pencils. Sometimes I'll have a flare pen. Sometimes I'll have a razor point. I'm just throwing out a few pens. There's usually a box. Oh, here it is, right here. There's usually a box of pens that sort of got caught. I accused my friend Chip Fur the other day of reaching down into. He and I were at Renaissance Patisserie having a coffee and talking about art, and he reached down in his bug out bag, his little Roo Doodles bug out bag, and I said it looked like you pulled out a handful of peacock feathers. He had more pens. People were like, what are you going to do with all that stuff? This bag was meant to lighten the load, not increase the load. So he got a good art bag, but in about another week he'll have it full of stuff, and he'll have to go and straighten it all out. So here's a few pens right there. Is there a pen in my my pocket this morning? Let's see if there is. Oh yeah, there's the Kuno. All right, I'm gonna throw these back down in here. And there's a 7. We'll put that there. All right, so I'm going to do a little painting with those. In fact, I'll just do it right now. Let me show you what it is. It goes like this. Karen Walker, McAllister Jordan. That's a lot of names. Betsy Saunders, thank you for being on the show from Kansas this morning. You were up early, and I appreciate it. Van Gogh definitely thought like an artist. Yeah, he was a troubled artist, too, if you read his history. It's kind of sad. Do I believe lefties are more creative? I certainly lean in that direction. I think Da Vinci thought that also. I think that there is something for which side of the brain we sort of shift to when those synapses are synaptin. That's why I'm not in medical school. But all those little highways up there that start to connect, I think the best blacksmiths I ever met or worked with were all left-handed. And so it made me want, but going in their shop and trying to work in there and thinking that everything's on the wrong side and the anvil needs to be turned around, it was pretty frustrating. So I know that's tough with you guys, especially with fountain pens. All right. My dad was a lefty, so were my brothers. There was a time when that was frowned upon, and then I think we said, hey, time out. Look at what those people are doing here. I recently discovered water-soluble graphite. Yeah, those are good. They do a little SketchUp pencil. You can put the graphite down, and then it runs all over the place. It's pretty remarkable. A pencil's been a sketch and wash. I love the name. It's sketch and wash. All right, so here goes some pencils this morning. I'm gonna throw some pens and pencils. Here we go. Let me show you the video, and then I'll run with it, and then I'll do a little painting, and then I got something else that I'm working on this morning. I'm going to find a piece of paper while this video's running. Here it is. It's called The Kitchen Sink. I read it this week it's an older video, and I read it this week on my Patreon class, or I read it to my Patreon folks, because I wanted them to say, hey, scale down, just work on sketching. I'm going to say that several times this morning. Work on sketching. I used to, people say, well, I paint, but I can't really sketch. And I'm going like, I'm going to push you this next year, especially the people in Patreon that I push and push and push. You're the people that you're in the swing, and I don't want you just to sit there. I'm going to be the guy who pushes. And when you come back, I'm going to push out again. When you swing back, I'm going to push out again. That's my job, to say, form a habit of carrying a journal, carrying a pen, carrying a brush, carry a pencil, carry something that you can sketch with. The better you learn to sketch, I will tell you, you will gain confidence in your art and painting. It just will happen. It will happen. You think, no, I don't need to do that because I do these wash landscapes. Yeah, but if you learn to balance that page out with something in there for perspective, and there's some lines in there that you sketched in, or if there's a shape in there, you will paint better. Art school people might argue with me on this, but I didn't go to art school. So there. Saw that, didn't I? Okay, here's the video, and I just threw everything at it except the kitchen sink, and I would have thrown that at it if I'd have had one. Here it is, right here. Don't worry about the painting live part on Monday. It's an old one, but I packed up all my gear. I'm doing that again. Okay, so there's a sketch. It's called Kitchen Sink, and so here's what I have down here on the deck. I have I'm gonna widen this camera out a little bit so you can see just a little more view of where I am. I'm gonna move me up in the corner right here. I'm gonna actually squeeze me in a little bit. You don't need to see my big old blockhead, long fuzzy hair. That's just how it works here. Not only do I think like an artist, sometimes I look like one, and that's a little scary too. I'm going to lay this little lobster down and shoot a focus on him right here. See if that's kind of focused right there. Looks a little blurry, but then that's a Bigfoot here. All right, so there we go. So here's what I have. Take a look. There's more than you need, but I just reached out there, and these are things that I can reach. There's, and I'm not going to take the time to label them like I did on that painting. I'll label them later. Here's a Lamy pen. This is a number 3 Preppy pen. That's a fountain pen. This is a fountain pen. This is another. That's another fountain pen. It's just like this one. Don't need that one. This is an 05 Pintail. This is an 07 Pintail. This is a flare pen. This is a Intergel Extreme 05. So that's a different pen. Here is a Razor Point flare pen. Razor Point made by Pilot. There it is right there. This was the ultra fine flare that was discontinued probably in 2008. Shame on you, flare pen. Here is a yellow watercolor pencil that was on this. Here's 2 Yasutoma Japanese brushes. Here is a number 7, a number 8, and an old beat up, looks like number 3. Here is the 555 layout pencil. And here is just a regular graphite pencil that I don't think I'll need. And just for fun, I saw this pen laying, wasn't even in anything. It's a piece of charcoal. It's white charcoal. I don't know if I can use it, but there it is. So there's the kitchen sink. There is a Pentel water brush here, but I think with all these, I've got clean water. I've got a palette here to dip into anything I want. I did spray this palette with a little water this morning. I just literally took my atomizer sprayer here. Atomizer sounds so science, whatever. And I do have a cup of tea. So I'm going to warm that tea up. I'm going to put on a piece of music, and then I'm just going to paint. So here we go. And I think I'm going to paint to something that's got a little bit of a beat to it. Let me see if I can find something that's just kind of full, kind of fun sounding, and something I haven't played in a long time. Here's the wash water. All right, so here we go. So I'm just going to reach and grab them. No order. Just no order. I grabbed the 7 first. Well, that was a good move on my part. So here we go. I'm just going to sketch my rooster. You see how careful I'm being? When you sketch 5,000 of these, when you decide you're going to paint 2,000 honeybees, you just keep sketching. I think I'm going to put his leg back here on this one, like he's walking into the art studio. So here's his art studio, and maybe it's, oh no, I'm crazy, right? Maybe it's the kitchen sink. Okay, so there it is right there, and it's on some lines. What was that? Just fell. Something fell. And here's where he brushes out all his brushes. So I'm just painting just a little scene here. I like my roosters coming into a scene. I like them being somewhere, going somewhere, thinking something, being a part of this. So there's my rooster. There's the floor. I'll go ahead and do some cross hatching with this. Can you see all that I'm just doing there? When I get into under the feet, I'll do a little extra cross hatching like this. I don't have to paint this fast, but there's something fun about it that just forces me. Listen to this. I don't have to paint this fast, but there's something about it that forces me to be a little looser and just not worry about the lines as much. If I'm doing this, okay, let's get this line here and this line here, and all these lines have to be straight. Why? Why do they have to be straight? I'm going to make ground out of this. There have to be more in here because I'm going to make shadow out of this. So I just let them roll in there, and if some go longer than others, if some stop short, little maybe more rust right under here, or rust. There will be some rust when I finish this. You see what I'm trying to do there? I'm trying to this is an old country kitchen sink. It's maybe a marble block. There's got some, these are the spigots here. There's hots on the left, coals on the right. If you ever forget that, you won't be a very good plumber. Those are the 3 things you have to remember about plumbing. One of them could be, you got to watch how you say it, but hot's on the left, waste runs downhill, and don't bite your fingernails. Those are the three things you have to know to be a plumber. All right, so all right, so here we go. So I just took that. Now I'm going to take my Lamy pen. So I laid down my number 7. I'll put the ones I use over there. I laid down my number 7. I'm just going to put some. The one I did, by the way, it took me 5 minutes to do it. It's going to take me longer because I'm talking through this one. But it took me. I did a time lapse on it, so I had the camera shooting every 3 seconds, and that way, that's what produced it into a time lapse. So, all right, so. Here, I can take this brush and come down with it, and I can build some of those hatch marks right in here, just like this, because that's going to create a different color black. And I want a little bit of shadow right in here. All right, so I'm going to put that down. I think that's enough for now. Maybe not. Maybe a little bit right here. Just get some extra darkness in here. Don't know how it's going to turn out. Don't care. I might care later, but I don't care right now. So. All right, put that pen over there. Grab this smaller pen. This is a Pilot Kakuno, and I'm just going to do a couple little scratches right here with it, lightweight like this. Now I'm bending these. I'm turning them a little bit. I'm going to do the same right up in here just a little. Just because I want this to look like it's some hair coming down, some feathers. Been painting bees so long, I almost called it pile. So there's kind of where that's going with that. Can you see that? Let me see if that's all right, so there's that so far. Now let's lay that pen over there. Let's get to number 5 and come in and do a couple little ticks like this. Look at this. These are little ticks that come down that make it look like the underbelly of the feathers that are sweeping up. So I'm just blowing those in there like this, okay? Now, some point in time, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to build up a little bit. Some point in time, he says, as he does it. And then I'm probably not going to put I'll put some outlines of the claws on there, just the little toenails, and maybe the spurs, but I'm not going to put the veins in the feet just yet, okay? And then maybe I'll come back in here and put a couple more of these little ticks here, and then some drops down like this. There's a lot of black going in here so far. I don't think I've used this pen yet. I kind of like it. Let's put some of this up in here just as some little cross ticks. Why am I doing this? Because this pen bleeds. I know that it bleeds some. So when I put the red up in here, it'll soften this and it'll run with my red and give me kind of a different color red. I kind of like that. I like that feel. All right. All right, if you got a question or two, you can always put a Q in front of them, and I'll jump up there and search them. And if they come up, I'll answer them. Sometimes I miss quotes and comments and who pops on, so I'm so sorry. I just don't see them all. They go by so fast, and thank you all for commenting. Oh, Jason, you own the kitchen sink original? Thank you so much for letting me know who did that. I didn't see that on your wall, but thank you so much for that. Used an old school flare last night. I love that. Fantastic. Pat Lightbody, I think I said hi to you. Jack Wolfbarger, good night, he says. Good night or good morning, whichever, man. I'll take it. All right, Marion Alwad, thank you for being on the show, and Ricky Gobears, thank you. All right, so here we go. Look at this. I'm doing, and she said, "Careful." I don't think she was talking to me. So you guys just have your own conversation sometimes. This is the old-fashioned flare pen, and I'm going to put some of this in here, just like this right here. Just build it up a little bit, and I want some of this in under places that I want to be dark. So you got to remember that I'm talking and I'm looking at comments and all, but when I'm sitting here in my studio, I'll just paint this straight in. I have no plan. I know that's going to scare some of you. Did he say he doesn't plan? Yeah, he doesn't. Okay. I'm doing a painting with a plan today, though, and that's why these pencils are out. All right, so now I'm just going to grab some clean water and change the music. And I'm going to just go with a little more strategic music now. Here we go, a little more classical sound. Here we go. So I'm just going to start popping some water in here. And look, I'm not trying to do a complete wash over the whole thing. I'm not doing a landscape. I'm just dropping some water in to see how it's going to react. Look at that flower pen. It's got purple in it. I love that. And I don't want too much of this. I don't want the dark I want some color to pop in there. So there we go. Boom. Now I'm going to reach over here and grab, see, this would be kind of cool. Oh yeah, that pen right there is the Pilot. This is the Flare. This is the Safari. The regular is just kind of regular pens. This was an 05 down here. All right, so now I'm going to go in. I'm going to get some blue, and I'm just going to splatter that blue in there just like this. And just when I say splatter it, I mean just splatter it. Look, I just splattered that in there. This makes him look like he's on his way somewhere or he's coming back. And I got to be careful because I'm taking Carol out to breakfast this morning, so I don't want to change shirts again. All right, I changed once this morning already. That's enough. One time a day is enough most of the time, but sometimes I'll have a 2-shirt day. All right. So there's that pen bleeding in with the ink. Can you see that? I'm gonna zoom in on this creature just a little bit here. Here we come, just a tad right here. Watch close. I'm going to refocus. I think he needs a little of some undergirth here, being in the purple. There it is. Maybe a little bit of spring green just right in here, just to pop some of that. And then get a little bit of light green and light yellow and come in here and just touch some of this on the back underneath these stars that I want to leave white. Grab that just like that. And now I'm going to come in with some, there's a lot of red that ran down the neck. Can you see it right there? I'm going to go get some of that out right there. Look. There, I just erased some of that out. All right, I've got a huge brush. I'm going to lay that brush down and pick up a smaller brush. All right, so this is a number 2. It's a number 1. It's a long number 1. So there's short ones and there are long ones. This is a long number 1 Yasutoma bamboo brush. I'm going to lay that aside, and I'm going to grab a little more detail brush, and this one's going to be the 0 Yasutoma, and I'm just going to grab some nice yellow. And come in here, and now I'm being careful. Look, I'm still holding my brush back, but I'm just being careful. I'm going to come in here, and I'm just letting this Indian yellow and gamboge, yeah, you heard me change a little bit. I just picked up some Indian yellow a few weeks ago when I was up at Joe's, and I put a little of it in there with this to just add a little more of that orange look that I like coming into the beak. I like for a little bit more wear and tear. It makes him look like he's a little older. He doesn't look like he's fresh hatched. He's got a little more personality to his beak, like, hey, I've hit a few corn cobs that have been tough. I'm also sometimes will take some orange and pick it up in here, and pick it up there. That's a good look right there. Ooh, that is a good look. All right, now I'm going to mix a little color here. I'm going to grab a little of this gamboge over here, throw it in this pan, and a little touch of Joe's Red. Too much, so got to get more gamboge till I get this the way I like it. There's some coming in right there. And then we'll grab a little bit of French gray right here. And I'm going to put that in there. And that mess of a mix right there, is what I like to put on the legs of my chickens. That's a little too much gray, so I'm going to go back and get a little more yellow in that. And I just put it in here like this. And then there's plenty of paint. So I've cleaned my brush out, and I'm going in with a damp brush, and I'm just pulling the rest into this. Okay, that's something that in Patreon we're going to work on that more and more. Pull the water and paint around. You're going to paint with water. You're going to add some color, and then you're going to mess with it a little bit. Mess with it. I didn't say brush it this way or that way or make it look smooth. No, just let it go. Let it create its own atmosphere, and then go clean your brush out a little bit. Maybe just tap it one time, boop, like that, and then pick up some paint. Bring it in. Okay, this paint is so wet over here, so I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Look, I put some paint. There's a lot of paint right there on the leg of this rooster, a lot. So I'm going to take my brush. You hear me cleaning it out. Put it right here like this. Dry brush, not dry, but a damp brush. Now I'm pulling this into, look, I'm just using it as a boat paddle, and I'm maneuvering it down here into this island of unpainted things. If I want a little more orange under the foot, I can add it right there and let it run up the other way. But I also want to grab a little bit of this gray, black, blue and put it right here and let it be so it shows shadow coming down on this leg because that's the back leg. This one's in the front, that one's in the back, or one way or the other. I could have done it the other way around. In fact, I will just do it the other way around. Watch this. Just change it just like this. Get some of this. Go black and blue. Going to cut him off here. And this one is going to be open to his body. So it's on this side. So there it is. A little more orange there. Okay, just change those around. Take this wispy brush and just pull some of these feathers down to make him look a little more wrinkled, tattered, ragged. That's my style because it's a little bit like where I grew up in East Tennessee. A little tattered, wrinkled, ragged. Now, it's fun to say that here's what I've used. I didn't use my watercolor pencil. Here, I'll just use a little of that straw right here on the handles of my hot and cold, and we'll make bronze out of that. There we go. And we'll put a little paint here and there. Okay. So, but I could use a little bit in here. I'm going to show you something now with these pens. So I didn't use this pen, so I'm going to use it. Here's what I've used so far. This is, easy for me, right? Okay. These are my handful right here. Here's the Safari. I love this. This is 17, 18 bucks. Sometimes you might see them for 30. Don't pay 30 for it. You can probably get this for under 20 bucks somewhere. Safari. I buy the ink that goes with the Safari fountain pen. It's a medium point, but if you ever want to lay down some black ink or some good ink, it'll do it. If you're ever in a situation you want to do a pen and ink drawing and you say, oh no, I didn't bring my ink bottles with me. You know, I don't have my Sumi ink, or I don't have my Higgins or my Black Magic Higgins ink or one of those. Just open up your Safari pen. Pop the little refill out and go drip, squeeze it, put it back in your pen. And then you've got all kinds of ink to work with. You've always got ink with you if you carry one of those. Here's a flare. These are the old flares. These are the vintage flares. They have ribs on them. Do you think about how painting could be matted frame when you paint it, maybe the size of the painting? Very little, Jason, and people will tell you that's one of the complaints that I get very often. Like, hey, you didn't give this much room to be framed out here. And I'll go, but if the guy's good and you take it to a mat shop, I've got at least an 1/8 inch to catch that, especially with some great artist tape. Sometimes I do if I'm in an installation but a lot of people also will sandwich these, like your bridge, for instance. I didn't, you wrote way over on the left, and I didn't worry about that. I thought, I'm just going to put it between two pieces of glass with a nice wooden frame, and I'm done with that. And I'd like to find I'm still looking. I took it to two places, and I haven't decided yet. But basically, I think I might even use a blue steel frame. And just, I might put some bolt heads in there or something, That's a great question, though. It looks like he has a baseball. Annette Henson says the rooster's crown looks like he has a baseball cap rim on it. Well, okay, I'll change that. Thank you very much. I see it right now. That's just where the pen slipped. That's where if you had a pencil, you could erase it. But look at this. I'll just take it right in here and put it like that. Now it looks more like a baseball cap, doesn't it? So, yeah, so now I really messed it up. But so I'll grab my little fine tail brush, go get some of that red, and just pop it in there again like this. And now you won't even think about that. Maybe you will. You'll always look at it and go, I think he just put a baseball brush on that pencil. So I'm going to go back in. Now, I painted that without a black line. Now I'm going to take the line and go in there and go around it like this. Wait a minute. Can you do that? Hey, it's your piece of art. You can do anything you want to it. People go, oh, I can go back after I painted something? Dadgum right, you can. It's your piece of art. You can do whatever. This is dried a little bit, so I'm going to go in here and put some veining in. I'm using an 03 Preppy pen. I have several 02s here, but I really like this 03 also, just because it puts a little more ink out. Now, this does not bleed as well as a Lamy pen, but I can go back in and put it onto water surface, and it'll really run some out. Like if I touch it here where this is wet, the ink will run out, and it'll come out and do what they call fumato. Okay, which starts with an S, by the way. So if you're looking up the word fumato, it's SFUMOTO or TA. So, all right, so I like this rooster. Let's see. Now, let's put a little marble sink in here. Let's get a little French gray and come in here like this. Create a little marble sink, just like this. A little bit over there. So you say, what looks marble about that? Well, I think it's going to look marble when I put a little bit of some lines in it with this brush here. Just some marble streaks. Putting a little bit, it's gonna dry. You gotta fuss with it a little bit to get it to go in there. But when it starts going in, it'll really look cool. Okay, so there's some little lines that are coming in. A little bit of marble. I lost my brush. I keep throwing brushes down here like I own this desk. Wait, I do own the desk. And there's that. Let's see. These legs are going to be kind of more of a wrought iron leg, just like that. Put that in there, like so. This can should be gray. No, it should be turquoise, for heaven's sakes. There it is right there. And then maybe just put some brushes up here with a little bit of color in them. And there we go. And let's grab a little bit of this and just splatter it in here like so. Let's make some color run down the sink like this. Just put some in the floor, and I'm gonna come back and now I'm just got a clean brush, okay? Move it up. Okay, you guys, hey, a little patience out there in the world. Move it up. Move it on up. All right, here we go. Shoot, my finger is wet, and it's my what am I trying to say? All right, now these are those hatch marks that I did. Look here, watch this. Look, see where I put that pin under there for a little more of this? Now I'm going to touch that orange that I dripped down there. I'm just going to touch this orange with this, and watch what happens. Just pick it up like that and let it wash in. Why? Because it looks like a spill if I do that. So that's why I don't worry about how these go. Look where I did the extra little marks underneath for the shadow. So I don't have to go back in and worry about shadows. And I put a little bit of, I'll show you how I'm going to create this shadow in a minute to just make it work a little even better for me. Look at this. Some of this over here. Some of this over here. Put a little bit of amethyst or purple in your shadow sometimes. If you've got blue up there in the tail, which I do, there's a little blue. The shadow on a damp floor will also match the color of what's reflecting on it. That's why water is blue, people, in lakes. You know that, right? That, you know why that is? So that's because, all right. You look at the sky and the clouds and you say, wow, the water looks green today. And you look up and you go, wow, there's a blue and a yellow sunset, and you get a green reflection, and you go, ooh, the water looks gray today. And you look at the sky and you get this gray looking beautiful sky. You look at this blue sky and the water just starts to glisten. If the sun's out, if the sun's not, you go back and forth. All right, so now I can come back in with my 07, and if I want some little detail marks like the nostril on the chicken, I can put it there like so. I love what's happening here. Did you see where I made those little pin marks? This orange is following that out some. And this is really a weird piece of music, but I've got it playing anyway, so I'll just leave it on here for a little bit. Okay, so there's the kitchen sink. And I don't know what I'll do with him yet. I might cut this off like this, and I might put something up here. I might not. I'm done with it. I think I'm just going to leave this big old glob right there and just let it dry in and see what happens. The only thing that I think I will touch is right in here. I do think it needs a little of Terry Tardy turquoise just splashed in right there. And then I'll probably pull some of that right in here just like that and tie that in together. I think that's what I want. Now this paper is buckling some, and so it's going to get some different lines and hues as it dries. So some of this is going to leave marks, some of it's going to leave hard lines, there's going to be soft lines that appear in it. I see one more place that I'd like it just a touch more yellow, just right here. Just want to put it in there, and then I've taken a dry brush again. I piled it in pretty hot. I've taken a damp, clean brush, but damp, not dry. And I'm just dragging that down to just create a little more of that yellow flow right here, which comes down to his hackle. Yes, the anatomy of a rooster should be something that you ought to get familiar with if you're going to paint roosters. If you're going to paint dogs or cats, you ought to know. If you're going to paint horses, you got to know why the long face. Okay, it's an old joke, right? All right. Man, time flew. Okay, so now when I sit down by myself here, 5 to 8 minutes, I can knock one of these out just like that and just have it if I'm not talking through it and checking comments and all that stuff. So, Mark Langston, welcome and the mountains that call us. And we'll find our dreams up there to live as brothers and as children. There's a lot we need to share to find the rainbow. There's the rainbow, man. Wow, you take me back, brother, every time you're on the show. That's a song that we used to do years ago. I wrote that song in what? Oh my gosh, 70 something. Wow. You may be the only guy that knows that song. I don't even think I know it. What I love about the kitchen sinks is a blueprint to the different pins used. Yeah, that's going to happen here too. I'm going to do that architecturally on this one, Jason, and I'll go back and pull all those pins in and do some lines and give this a thing of the key. You know, I think that's the key when you go back and you see all that. So the cool part about this is I've done this long enough now that I know all the pins. It's 07, 05, the Safari, the 03 Preppy, my Pilot came in here with those little quick hashes right here, and also this one, and I really didn't even react on that much. And you see some here that I didn't close in. I don't think I have to get them all out of the way because I like to show these different pins. It's just a style, but it's a style that I kind of like. And so there is the painting. Here it is. I'm going to go out one more time just so you can see the whole mess that I made this morning. There's measuring tape laying there as well. And there's the rooster. There he is, almost in focus. This camera is like doing eye surgery focusing it. Wow, it is tough. Oh, thank you, Trish. The painting is turning out great. I read that the painting is turning out green, and I'm thinking, do not adjust your set. All right, so I'm going to lay this down here on the floor and let it dry. Boop, drifted it off to sleep there. Take my top of the morning to you and put it back over here. I'm so happy you're on the show. If you have a question, I'll go back up there and see. QQ should get it. Jason, how do you frame the creations that you make that are lightweight paper, like drawing paper? Yes. You know, here's the thing about drawing paper. If you make a drawing paper one, especially if you've got good paper and you can't see through it, if you can see through the paper, put another white piece behind it. If you can't see through the paper, then just I still like a piece of white behind it sometimes, and then a cardboard on top of that. Drawing paper, or 80 pounds, certainly 80 pound and above, will still frame very, very well and very, very flat. Yesterday, I did two paintings that I sold that were black and whites. One was on the fly sketch, what I call the fly sketch, not sketched on the fly, but it was. One was on 140-pound paper that comes out of the Kilimanjaro. The other was on this fly leaf, and this is probably about 80-pound paper, but it's got a little bit of a coating on it. Almost feels a little bit vellum and slick. One side slicker than the other. When Cheap Joe's made this paper, they made it for cover paper, but they also made it to sketch on, just to treat this like a little bit of a travel journal. So my first rooster was on this yesterday with pins. And by the way, your pins bleed differently on slick paper, hot press, or even drawing paper than they do on 140 watercolor paper. And even more so that when you're painting on, I think I had a piece laying out here. You know, the first piece in all these books is 300 pound. I mean, it's like a piece of card. I think there's a piece laying up here somewhere. 300 pound paper. What is that? Did I have a piece? Maybe I don't. Oh yeah, here's a piece right here. This is 300 pound, oh, no, I painted on that one. So there, that's different. There's a feather that I'm painting on the 300 pound. Water on this paper reacts completely different than water on the 140 and on the slick paper. Just, you've got to learn. That's why I recommend all the time. I've been pushing my buddy Chip for a long time to, whether you use Kilimanjaro or not, I don't care. But maybe you're going to use, maybe you have these little notebooks around. I have a Canson here that's 140 pound. If you're going to paint on Canson paper, to me, there's a big difference between this Canson 140 rough and this 140 rough Kilimanjaro. Trust me, I can just feel it in my fingers, but I can also note it in the water and the brush. And so a Canson Professional feels more like this. Aquarela or aqua paper, you know, so I don't want to get into paper discussions with you because everybody has their favorite. My point is, if you have your favorite, stay with it for a while. Then you know just like creating habits of pens and pencils and sketches and how you use your pens, you'll create a habit with a paper. It'll be a muscle memory that you go, I know how this paper takes water. I know how much I can put on there before I get to its saturation point. And it's a lot. In 300-pound paper, it is a ton. Okay? I'll show you on the back of this just how different it is. But if I were going to and what I've got to work on today is I'm painting a painting for Grit, and so Grit magazine, and it's a different one. But I want to show you something else that I painted before I paint this, and we'll finish on that this morning. Look at this. Let me see if I can show you this. Here's a couple photos. Take a look at this. Boom. Okay. The piece on the left is an oyster that. Jason, that's a great question. I'll answer that. Here's before you answer Jason's question, take a look at this. The photo on my left. It could be your right, depending on how you're looking at this. It is a stone. It's from Stone Beach, and it's an oyster. And it's the biggest oyster shell that Carol and I had seen since we were in France, in the south of France, Brittany. We'd never seen oyster shells they're just beautiful. It's just absolutely beautiful. Look at the other side of this oyster shell. Do you see the little marking in there? Okay, I think I told you about this, but I wanted to show you how it come to fruition. He was drilling holes in these up at the top, and he was selling them as Christmas ornaments or dangles, wind chimes, that sort of thing. Just because he loves the crabs or the oysters, he sells those too. But he says, I'll just sell the shell. So he bleaches them all out. But after this is cleaned and bleached, sometimes when people paint oysters, they paint this little purple spot right in the middle. I looked at this immediately and said, oh my gosh, look at that marking and look at the growth rings where the oyster has been attached and where it's grown, the shell has grown and it's created almost like growth rings like a tree. You with me here? You following me? Okay, so I saw that and what did I see? I saw a honeybee. So I took the shell and I said, I'm going to buy a couple of these. He said, no, don't buy them. And so I turned it into a honeybee in the shell. So see, there he is right there. So I painted this, believe it or not, with a pen. I did the markings of it. You can see where some of it is still in there. It's kind of cool. I think I took a felt tip pen. I don't even know if I did. Maybe, yeah, I did. I took a felt tip and I brought it in like this and I brought it over here and I'm still messing with it. Can you see this? I'll just mess with it until I'm tired of messing with it. And then I'm going to spray it with a sealer to keep it all in. And come down here with a little bit of this and maybe a little touch more in there. So theoretically, there's my honeybee inside this oyster shell. And so I'm just shooting a picture of it this week when I seal it and send it back to the guy and say, hey, I want to mail you one of these just for fun. Thanks for giving me a couple shells. But that is an actual marking. I didn't paint that. That was what you saw in the shell. So I just want to show that to you. Every now and then I do something just wacko and crazy. And I painted this with watercolor. And did it stay on the shell? Not very well, as we would say. But I'll show you what a little orange will do right in here. It'll kind of come in like this. And we'll add a little touch to it. There it is right there. Can you see that? I'm just putting a little orange in this bee. Up on his head and down here. And maybe just a touch more yellow on top of that orange right here. And then I have this cool markings of this bee. And I just let that dry. Watercolor can attach itself to other things, especially if it's rough. That's the advantage sometimes of rough paper, cold press over hot press. But hot press, it'll stay there. It's just going to stain differently or fumato differently or mushroom differently or blend differently, however you want to call it, the atmospheric look. Okay, all right, so there's my honeybee in the oyster shell. You can see him a little more if I lay him down like that. I just wanted you to see that. I'm going to lay it over here so that dries. Eventually, I'm getting ready to spray that and seal it. And I don't know if I'll ever do anything with it, but except I'm going to send one back to the guy. Let's see. How do you think about a painting that could be matted frame? Okay. Jason says, I had somebody tell me once that my paintings don't make sense. It was rude about it. I love it when people do that because I just ask them questions. So the best thing to do is never defend it. You don't have to defend it. Why should I have to defend someone? Look, I met with a marketing company yesterday that wants to buy 4 of my paintings. That's a story that's I'll develop on down the road if it works. And I thought, I saw their other renderings and what they had from other artists. And I thought, what do they want to buy mine for? And so I showed them, and she said, no, we want your paintings. And I said, um, she said, I know some people feel this way and some people feel this way. And I'm going like, I don't care. This is just what I offer. So I asked them questions about how the paintings would be used. And I said, so I generally, when someone says, well, if I'm at a gallery and someone says, oh, I really don't like this work, and this has only happened to me twice in my life. One where a lady came up, I think you know the story. It's in Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle book where she says, well, I only buy fine art. And so I just said, I understand. My art is fine with me. And so on that definition, would you like to buy the piece of art? And she was going like, well, I basically said no. Well, you didn't say no. You said you only buy fine art. I'm telling you that for me, this is fine art. And so this is as fine as I'm going to get. This is who I am. So you really don't like me. That's fine. We're not going fishing together. I'm not going home to you. I'm going home to a wife who thinks my art's fine. And so, and when it's not, she'll say, this is the wrong color here. Use the wrong color. But she says that I love her. She loves me. And we have that push and shove, as you do. So find somebody who likes your style. I do think there's a lot of artists out there who have poor community. And here's what I mean by that. Everybody tells you that your stuff is just precious and it's fantastic and it's oh so good. That's not how life works, really. It is how life works, but it really isn't a good rule. But you don't need people running around saying, "Oh, I don't like this at all. That's not you're no good." Well, you go like, "Well, what do you paint?" And I asked her what she painted. Remember this story? She said, "Is all you paint's roosters?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "How boring." And I said, "So what do you paint?" And she said, "Nothing." And I go, "No, that's boring. At least I'm doing something with a pen and a brush. I am engaging my soul into the creative universe. I love that. What are you doing? You're just walking around with your wine glass going, oh, my goodness." And so we didn't go that deep. Well, we almost went that deep in the conversation. But before the evening was over, she came back and asked to buy a painting. And I said, sorry, I sold it, which I really had. I would have loved to not have sold it and said, yes, I did. But she said, well, I really wanted it. And I said, well, it'll really cost you to have one like it. And she opened up her purse and said, I'll write you the check. And I painted her one. So I'm saying that I won in the end by being a nice guy. Okay, so because what's it worth? Getting into an argument over art is a lot like going deer hunting with an accordion. You don't need to do it. You just don't need to do it. So I'll just say, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Do you write? Do you paint? Oh, yes. I'd love to see some of your work sometimes. I'd like to take a good look at it. No, you don't have to do that. All right. So I just let it go off the end. So that's how I respond to that. Okay. Does Carol paint every day too? No, she does not. Carol hasn't painted in a while now because Carol cooks or studies or works on Yaya. Being Yaya yesterday, she was putting a whole bag together before she went to visit the grandkids on Thursday afternoons, and she does her Yaya thing. She goes in and helps clean and hang out and play crazy games and make something fun and just treat them as the sweet kids that they are, and that's her life right now. She designed 3 pieces of jewelry for Christmas and made those, and they're spectacular. And she gave them to the 2 daughter-in-laws and the daughter. And so they're fabulous, and they're bracelets. And so that's kind of what she does. When you paint for grit, what size do you paint? Ricky, when I paint for grit, I paint the actual size that goes in the magazine. So I literally lay out that magazine piece, which is a little bigger than this feather here, which is a little bit, that's funny. I needed, this is 300 pound too. I'm not even sure why I started on this. Must have been doodling on the phone and, or I had a line on the page or something. Who knows what I did. So, but I will generally take the magazine and lay it out, and I'll do a little mark on it. And then, so for that, see, there's that frame question. If somebody says, hey, I have a 9x12 frame and I want a picture of Waldo, my first rooster that we ever had, I say, no, thank you. I don't want to do Waldo. I'd rather you just, yeah. And so this marketing company that I've been talking to, I said, you probably have a brand idea in mind for what you want. I don't do commissions like that. I'm not going to please you if you already have an idea. They said, no, we want this avant-garde. You make the decision. And I said, now we're talking. Let's keep aiming at the target, aiming at the target, aiming at the target, and then we get it. So for grit, they send me 7 or 8 comments that they say, this is going to be in the magazine next month. This topic, this topic, this topic. These 3 are going to be on the cover. These 3 are going to be here. We think, we don't know, but we don't care if you're how it reflects. Find one that you think will fit the best and just paint it. So I chose all these topics. There's boom, there's this, and we're like, what does that have to do? Well, how am I going to get that? And so I make a little list. I just put them on a little piece of paper. I pin it to the wall over here, and I put one with me, and I put one in a book, and I carry it around. I put it in my notebook that I carry, my little leather notebook, and I carry that around. This is how I operate as an artist. This is how I think as an artist. I'll see that, and I'll go, ooh, grit's due on the 19th. I got to have it to them by next Thursday. I told them on Wednesday the 18th it'll go out. I've already got a rough draft, but I've changed flow. So I called them yesterday, and I left a message in their office in Topeka, Kansas, and I said, got a crazy idea, and I want to push the pendulum. I want to shove something over. I'm going to paint something, but I want to do something I've never done before. And so I didn't tell them what it was. Call me. So Monday, I expect to hear from Ingrid, who's my contact there. She's the associate editor, and she'll call back and say, okay, crazy person, what have you got going on now? And I'm going to say, I want to do this, this, and this. And she's going to say, I don't know what to do with that. I like this. This is a maybe. Or she'll say, oh my gosh, that's something we haven't thought of, or we thought of it, and here's why it didn't work. So I'll take and go. I'll always do my painting, and it'll work like it is, but I want to do something different. I can't tell you what that is, except that I have a rooster who's probably standing on a soapbox, and he's got a garden hoe with him there, and a microphone, and he's making a proclamation. So that's kind of where this painting's going to go. So I'll be painting that over the weekend and having some fun. Use good paper. Buy 2 packs. I don't know if I finished my thought on that. I don't care if you're buying this or not. If you buy this, tell Cheap Joe's that Rue says hello. Okay. Do they pass on some fun pens and paint and paper to me? Sometimes you bet they do. But at the same time, I love them just as a family. And so, and I love this paper. I started on this paper. I started with American Journey Paints, and I'm going to stay there just because I love it. I know how it works. It's like muscle memory to me. So here's what I want you to do. And here's what I want all the people on Patreon to do, because I use this to boost that show. And my point is, I come at you hard. I talk to you a lot about habit. Start a habit of painting this year. Yeah, my mom always talked about habits, but she talked about my bad habits. You know, you're biting your fingernails, you're throwing your coat on the floor, you're not picking up your wet towel, you're shooting out the back window at squirrels, and you're scaring me to death. Would you stop doing some of those things? I lived in the country, so I could do that back then. And you don't carry books at school. That's a bad habit. You don't carry books home from school. I go, no, that's not true. I carry a clipboard, and it's in the mailbox. So when I go down to catch the bus, it's right there, and I don't forget it. I don't do homework. I do homework in art because I love it, love it, love it. For me, it's not even work anymore. Mark Twain said when he was writing the second chapter of Tom Sawyer, which is so far from being politically correct, but it is perfect because it's people dealing with people. And Aunt Polly has put him in charge of painting a continent of unwhitewashed fence with a white brush and a bucket, just a big old, whitewash brush. And he trades out all the fun things. And the kids came by and they realized work, he says, work is something that you don't want to do. But work, if you like it, is like play. And so painting for me and getting good habits is like play to me. And when you cross that bridge, Jason, when somebody says, and how can somebody who looks at a bridge say, your paintings don't make sense to me. The color runs here, and you're like, he says, what's my focal point in this painting? And if they say it's a rooster, and I go, he's a storyteller. Sometimes the stories connect with you. Sometimes they don't. But those, when they connect to someone, people buy them and they hang in their houses. What's the focal point of this painting? The one I bought from you is a focal point. It's a bridge. Bridges take people places. Bridges are analogies for crossing from one side to the other. They're an analogy for the bridge to life. They're an analogy to the bridge to eternal life. They're an analogy for the bridge to the land beyond. They're an analogy for a new job. They're an analogy for moving from one city to another. They're relationship bridges. There are communication bridges. Everything has a bridge in it. There are fundraising campaigns that are based on bridge analogies. And my point to that is, this bridge that I bought was important to me because Carol and I walked across it. I've flown over it in a small biplane. I wanted to fly under it, but we knew we'd be arrested and be in jail. And so the whole point is that, and I've gone under it in a boat. And so for me, that bridge means something to me. It's the bridge that I see all the time. There's another bridge, and I moved the picture, but it was over here for a while. I turned to see it. It's the bridge on 210 that my kids, I used to pray over that bridge because they had to drive over that bridge every day to high school. It's 10 miles to their high school. And so, but we used to go down and hang out under that bridge was a restaurant called Eddie's Fish Camp. And it was fresh fish. And so for me, that's a story that connects me. So when somebody says, I don't like your art, I'll say, maybe you don't understand it the way I understand it. And by the way, to the person that says that to you, it's real easy to say, without being a smart aleck, to say, it's obvious I didn't paint this for you. Thank you, though. I hope when you write and paint things that you can connect to your audience. I feel like I'm working to connect to my audience. You're just not my audience. Blessings to you. Boom, I'm done. So there you go. Simple as that. Okay. I think I'm out of here like a herd of turtles. I think I got all the questions in. I think I hear questions coming up and I've missed them. Let me go down here and see if there's something else. Can you stare at the bridge and wonder what's going on and where they're going? Mic drop. And I will tell you this, Jason. You said mic drop. Just remember that, because mic drop is the subject of my Grit magazine article coming up. Boom. And don't think I'm too far from that. Let me show you how close I am to that. Okay, ready for this? Hold on. I'm walking over here to the other side of my office just for a second. Oh, I think I kicked my camera around. Pretty sure I did. Pretty sure I probably kicked my camera around, but let me show you this. Look at this. Look what I walked over to pick up. There it is right there. This is an old Shure 58, SM58. I've carried these microphones for years. I've sung with these on the road. They're fabulous, and so this is my model for going kaboom. So there it is right there. So funny that you should say that. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, habits control us. Try to do good ones. Yeah, my mom would always tell me about my bad habits, but through art, I've learned that there are good habits. Carry a pen, carry a pencil, carry something to scratch on. Make a sketch every day. Learn a new habit. Folks, if you're part of Patreon and you're listening, get those journals out and mark some pages up. Come on, make some notes. Right. All right. Hey, I'm going to see how my kitchen sink does. I'm going to put all the little lines in a little bit after I get back from breakfast this morning. Carol and I are going to the Renaissance Patisserie to have a little croissant and just to sit and catch up and visit for a little bit. We go over our calendars there, and so it works out really well. I love what you guys do. Is this Mike Hahn? Mark Langston, you still got me covered, buddy. Oh my gosh. Look, you know my name, right? Is Michael Hahn. And so you know I was Mike Hahn for years. And so I've been introduced, and I used to introduce myself by coming up and going like, check, check, check. Is this Mike Hahn? Is this Mike Hahn? That's the story. Langston, I didn't even think of that. I honestly didn't think of that until you put it in there. That is too funny. All right. We sold so many of those mics to churches back in the day. Oh yeah, this was the mic we used to say that you could use for a hammer to hang pictures with and then still sing in it. I think I have 4 or 5 of these over there in a box. I stole them from some church. Did he just say that? Hey, Langston, I don't have my white PV ones though. That's the ones I wish I had. My white PV microphones, even though they weren't as dynamic as the Shure. I'm out of here like a herd of turtles. Blessings to you guys. Thanks for being on my show. Thanks for sharing my page and letting other people know about Roo Doodles and what I do. I paint, I goof off, and I turn ink over on my desk. Rats. Okay, I'm out of here.